Hey everybody, my name is Odell Horn. I'm the president of the North Georgia Conference, United Methodist Men, and I want to welcome you to the weekly video update for Friday, June 25th, 2021. And this video is going to talk about critical race theory and the gospel. First, I want to make an announcement. On Monday, June 28th at 8:30 p.m., I'll be interviewing Dr. Kevin Watson, former professor of Wesleyan and Methodist Studies at Candler School of Theology. He will be moving on to greener pastures, and I wanted to get him on the record. He's a John Wesley scholar, so I want to talk to him about John Wesley, and you can join us on Facebook Live. Again, that's Monday at 8:30 p.m. And you can go to the United Methodist Men's homepage and click on the Facebook symbol in the top left corner, and you'll be able to listen in on that conversation. All right, critical race theory and the gospel. Uh, as a, some of you don't know who I am, so let me tell you that I have a master's degree in African and African American Studies from Clark Atlanta University, with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining. And Clark Atlanta University is a historically black university. And I got to be honest with you, there's been more conversation in the first 6 months of 2021 about critical race theory than there was in the entire master's degree program in African and African American studies. That's because critical race theory is not central to African and African American studies, it's just a part of the program. And critical race theory does not deal with white folks and skin color and shaming white folks. That is whiteness studies, which was developed by white academics. You're conflating critical race theory with whiteness studies. And scholars like Candace Owens and Vadi Bakum, Ben Carson, and Larry Elder do not have degrees in African or African American studies. And so, therefore, if you're listening to them and they're talking about critical race theory and they're not talking about whiteness studies, you are being hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. So, for all the parents who are going to school board meetings talking about they don't want critical race theory being taught, and black folks are scratching their heads because most black people don't know what critical race theory is. And therein lies the problem. White folks are not having conversations with black folks, not sitting down at the table because somebody should have corrected you and let you know that this critical race theory is not what you think it is, and that they should have referred you to whiteness studies for a clearer definition about skin color and shaming. Critical race theory deals with law. So, for example, Stop, Question, and Frisk was passed by New York City Council in 2001. But the application of Stop, Question, and Frisk netted suspects, of which whom 86% were black and Latino males. Now, I got to be honest with you because I grew up in upstate New York. The mob was pretty active in New York City. And I don't honestly believe that New York City arrested 86% of the mob. And so, what critical race theory does is that it exposes how racism exists in the legal system, as well as racism that exists just in our history, particularly in our textbooks. So, according to critical race theory, the conversation began amongst conservative pundits when the New York Times began running the 1619 Project in the summer of 2019, celebrating the 400th anniversary of slavery in America. And the 1619 Project calls that the beginning of slavery is the real founding of the United States. Well, there was a response, and it was called the 1776 Project. And we can get on into the battle over the textbooks and the representation of slavery and civil rights in textbooks. But I'm trying to figure out why this is a conversation in the Christian church. And I discovered it's a conversation because white Christians and black Christians are not sitting down at the table having conversations with each other. And we have a percentage of the Christian church that is listening to Vadi Bakum and other black conservatives who are not in the black church. So Here's what the United Methodist Men are going to do about this. Alpharetta First and St. James United Methodist Church last summer had a Bible study and prayer online, and we're going to begin to expand that. One white church, one black church, sitting down at the table having conversations over the Bible and prayer. So that's how we're going to handle this conversation of critical race theory and the gospel. Now, for those of you who believe that if you just preach the gospel, all the problems of race will go away, you need to read the book of Acts. Peter and Paul had a serious dispute. Paul and Barnabas had another serious dispute. And the Jews, who spoke Greek, had a dispute with the Jews who spoke Hebrew. So if you think that just preaching the gospel is the solution to racism, read the book of Acts. If we want to deal with race, we've got to sit down and talk about it. My name is Odell Horn, and I'll see you next time. Have a good week.